Woo. That was loud in the ears. Turn that down on my side.
We are 10 weeks away. We are 10 episodes away for needing to have our shit together. This is Judgmentalist, burying the lead. Tons going on here. Excited to come at you with another episode of Big Sexy Digital Nomad, where we discuss a trip to Vegas, Big Sexy back on the homeland, and everything in between. So here he is coming at you, Big Sexy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whenever this is hitting your ear holes, I hope it is good. Hey, Judgmentalist, how are you doing, my friend? How's everything going?
I am wonderful. I learned something important today. At least the logic checks out. I haven't actually gone legitimately grocery shopping since probably during lockdown. So,
What? Do you order out? I mean, how do you get your food? Did your wife do all the shopping?
Either that or other family members, or we do a lot of the, like, Walmart started a thing where I think it's called Walmart Plus.
Right.
And you basically can order shit delivered to your house, and it's like $99 a year or something ludicrous like that. So I was in a Walmart, which I'm not saying I haven't been to one of those stores before, but I have not browsed like the food areas in probably 3 years. And I think that this is no accident. I think that this is a plan by my family to keep me away from shit like this.
Listeners, my man is holding up Mexican street corn flavored Cheetos.
I mean, this shit, of course, this is the kind of shit that you don't want a jackass like me bringing home every time.
Right.
I think that I am banned from grocery shopping.
You got caught by impulse buying. I get it.
And nobody's told me, but it definitely seems to make sense why I have not been given that task in 3 or so years. So it makes sense. I have not opened these
because
yet.
You are the type of person to bring home random
all sorts of random horse shit. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, it was interesting, speaking of shopping, going back to grocery stores here in the States.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I was I wouldn't say overwhelmed, not completely overwhelmed, but definitely accelerated whelmed by the size and scope of everything that is an option here that is not like just not available in Spain or in Bucharest. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of what in those places, correct me if I'm wrong, you were shopping at places that we here in the States would categorize as a bodega.
No, like well, sometimes, but not really. Like the main shopping place we go to in Spain was called Mercadona. And there was a store right down the street, but like take a do you have Smith's in like a Kroger's where you are?
I'm familiar with Kroger's.
Right. So take like a Kroger, cut it in half, and that's about what you got in the Mercadona.
So how so explain the scaling down. Is it just that they have less of each item, less variety of items?
Less variety of items, less of each item and less variety of items, right? So one, a lot of the overly processed foods that we sell here in America, they don't have them and they don't carry that kind of shit in the store, right?
Okay.
So there is an entire Hostess section of the supermarket because Hostess doesn't exist there. Right.
Fair. Okay. And for those keeping score at home, that's why they look the way they look and why we look the way we look.
Correct. Which is why I came back. I weighed myself for the first time, maybe in since I've been back, right? I weighed myself right before I left. And right before I left, I weighed around 228, 227, maybe around 230. I weighed myself recently, and I dropped maybe about 6 pounds, right? So 222 is what it was when I stepped on the scale, but I have not been excessively staying away from foods that were bad for me, right? I've been trying to avoid, too much processed sugars and things like that. The bad thing was Mercadona had this little row of six small chocolate donuts that I loved, and so I would get those every blue moon. But for the most part, I try to stick to fruits, veggies, healthier foods, things like that. Um, and so, of course, me and the wife made a concerted effort to say, hey, we are going to stay on a healthy path while we're here in the US and not backslide into the ease of fast food and, processed foods and things of that nature.
Of
So
course, because
going
if you don't, you're going to be pushing 235 by the time we meet up in Vegas in 2 weeks.
right, exactly. In 2 weeks, I would put that
Because
weight
it
back
don't
on.
take
Right?
much, but you've
It
been away
doesn't at
from it.
all.
Ooh,
At all. So
magnified.
so far, 3 days in, I've been doing okay. But mom is also not a help. I love my mother to death, but like the first time we mentioned food, she's like, I'm thinking I'm going to some Chinese food. Do you want some Chinese? Oh yeah, Chinese will work. That's fine. I can figure out something healthy to eat Chinese. She goes, maybe I want In-N-Out. You like In-N-Out? Maybe I'll go get In-N-Out. I'm like, no fast food, mom. I can't go back down that path. Like I appreciate the temptation, but I have to stay strong. Also, walking here in Riverside, California is not as interesting as walking in Benalmádena, Malaga, Costa del Sol. For one, there isn't a sea right there for me to look out over the waves and the calming whatever. There are mountain ranges here, but it's just not the same. It's just all neighborhood, like house
Is
after
there at least a
house after
river?
house. No.
Got at least. How's there no river in Riverside?
Well, I'm pretty
Where the
sure there
fuck is
was
Riverside
one,
then?
100 years ago, 150 years ago, before all this shit drived up. There is a riverbed. I have ridden horses down it when I was younger.
So there was a river at one point in
At
time.
one point in time, there was a river near Riverside. I'm assuming.
Okay.
Just not now. But yeah, my mom lives, in a suburban neighborhood, so house and full big house and yard after big house and yard, which is just uninteresting. It's just not an interesting view, you know. So walking will be a challenge. my cough button, I forgot to hit it. Whatever. Sorry, guys.
10 more episodes, kids. 10 more episodes
10
and we'll
more.
have our
10
shit
more, and
together.
I will know exactly what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Call
so
button penalties in 11 episodes.
right, exactly. Yeah, so whatever. What was I saying? Stores, big, massive here. So I've gone grocery shopping. We're trying to keep it, simple. Just buy fruits, veggies, proteins. Keep it on the easy spot. Stocking up on the things that we want to have that we didn't have in there, like Kool-Aid, water additives. Make sure we buy some of those.
You're gonna be sewing fucking packets of Kool-Aid to the inside of a fucking jacket, aren't you?
Oh, look, I'm already mapping out. Okay, how much if I layer, the bottom of my suitcase, just all these little Kool-Aid packets, how much weight does that add? That's what I need to know. I need to weigh each one individually and figure out how many will fit in the suitcase and do that math and multiply that weight. And then nothing that's going to affect how many I bring. I'm just going to bring less shit so that I can.
Right.
I know my weight limit. I just need to bring less than that of stuff. Right. So I'm going to go out and buy me some lighter pants. And so I don't have to take so many pairs of jeans, because jeans are heavy. And figure that out. That's the goal.
How many wears do you get out of a pair of jeans before washing them?
Oh, before washing them?
Before washing them.
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
I'll wear a pair of jeans 3 to 4 times before I feel the need. Like, okay, these should probably wash. Usually, if I take them off and they kind of stand up on their own, I
Yeah,
go,
that's a sign.
it might be time to go ahead and toss these bad boys in the machine.
That is a sign.
Oh, that is another luxury that we get here in the States that they don't really have in European countries. Dryers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the dryers are like you hang your clothes. We got into an Airbnb that
In-unit washing machine, no dryer,
yeah,
or
in unit washing machine, no in unit dryer.
how about
Like
laundromats? Do they have washers and dryers at laundromats?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Because
There
that'd be
was
kind of weird and awkward to have all your shit hanging out there in public, you know?
but I mean that is it's not weird because that's what everybody does,
Fair point. Yes.
right? That is not uncommon to see, just laundry hanging outside of a window on the terrace, and that's built for that, right? And they have these. One Airbnb we got to said it had a dryer, so we got excited. We got there, it doesn't have a dryer. What it had is one of those. They have a metal rack,
Yeah.
that you can use to hang your clothes on, and that's what they were calling a quote unquote dryer.
Because culturally, that's what it is.
Culturally, it's something you hang your clothes on to dry. That is a dryer.
Okay.
No, give me a hot air dryer that tumbles my shit, and I can pull it out and it's done in, an hour, not a day. Right? A day and a half if the weather's cold, which it was as we were leaving. So that is one thing. We did laundry here. I was like, oh man, I forgot that, I had clothes in the dryer. Oh yeah, I got clothes in the dryer because it's done already. I can put the clothes away. So it's cool to be back. I mean, cool in the sense that I'm happy to see my mom. I got to see my grandsons the other day. That was wonderful. And their mom, shout out to Levon, William, and James. You guys remember we had an episode way back in the day called Normal Watch and a Neck Pillow.
Yeah.
So I got to meet them. They're getting tall, which is what, humans do throughout the course of their existence. But it's interesting to be gone for such a long time, come back and see how much they've grown. Like we keep doing that. We keep seeing them, especially when we live in Vegas. We see them like, once or twice a year. And every time we see them, they're bigger, smarter, brighter, more rambunctious. They're kids. They're 8 years old. They're 7 years old. They're going to be 8 soon. And it was so wonderful to hang out with them. We went to Pyology, which shout out to Pyology. You're still delicious. Even after experiencing pizza in Spain, you know what I mean? Which is phenomenal. But the Pyology here still holds up. So it's like, all right, okay. I'll give props where props are due. So quite delicious. But now I'm just, fighting to stay focused, right? Because I don't want to get in the rut and get in that just letting days pass without getting shit done. Because again,
Right.
we're gonna apply for the visa.
Well, you got a mission. You now have, yeah. I mean, you've always had that mission, but now it's a little more directed and somewhat time sensitive.
Right, exactly. So I'm making appointments at post offices, which I have an appointment on this upcoming Tuesday. The day when you're hearing this episode, yesterday was the appointment for the post office. We're gonna go. Moms need to get her passport. Jamel wants to ask about her passport, and I want to ask about our fingerprints to see if we can get our fingerprinting done. So we'll try to take care of all that on Tuesday. I still haven't heard yet back from the Hamiltons people about days and times, but I know that our showcase will be the show is March second, first, second, and third, or second, third, and fourth, whatever that Friday, Saturday, Sunday is. Whatever, yeah. So we'll be.
Let's do the math. Friday in February is the 2nd. So it's 2, 3, 4 in February. And normally 3/4 of the years, all of the days are the same days of the week in March, but this is a leap year. So they'll be off by one. Yes. So
what
the Friday will
leap year fall on? Do we have an episode dropping on leap year? I want to see when
leap day is a Thursday.
The 29th
so we'll
is a
miss
Thursday.
it by a day. except for the fact that we're going to drop a bonus episode on Leap Day. Why the fuck not? Because we can. It's a free day. It doesn't matter. Everybody gets a bonus because it's a bonus day, bonus episode.
Yeah, we're going to record a leap year bonus episode. If you have an idea of what we should talk about during that bonus episode, well, never mind, don't hit us up because we'll probably record it before by the time you've heard this, so don't worry about it. But we'll put a poll up on social media that will already have existed by the time you hear this. If there's any topics you want us to discuss on a leap year bonus episode, we got some leap things happening. If we have an extra day, what do you want to hear?
I'm doing at least one show, if not two shows that day.
Nice.
The Leap Day Leap Day Extravaganza, which is going to take place at the Elkton Music Hall.
Nice.
That is a 21 and over venue because of their liquor license and the antiquated rules of the county that we live in. I was contacted by some students wanting to know about possibly doing something that everybody could be involved in. So I've reached out to another venue to see if they would be willing to host a pre-show, an all ages show earlier in the day. So we would do, and this might be at the Showcase on Main that has a lot of the Elkton Magic shows. So we may do Leap Day, Williams Leap Day Extravaganza, the all ages edition, and then 3 hours later do the 21 and plus one. Not that the content's going to be adult, but the liquor license says they can't have anybody under 21 in that venue. And the hoops that you have to jump through to get some sort of a variance and a liquor license here are apparently ridiculous. So the juice is certainly not worth the squeeze there. But so 1 or 2 Leap Day Leap Day Extravaganza shows will be taking place on Leap Day 2024. But I got another show coming up that I want to tell everybody about. We teased it being a possibility in previous episodes. We teased it being possibly a Big Sexy Digital Nomad meetup if it were to all line up. And it looks like it is all lining up.
Oh, we can go ahead and lock that in and confirm it, good sir. Big Sexy will be returning to the Bright Lights of Las Vegas February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Which will include an appearance and meet up at Stacey Stardust's Secret Circus. Sunday, February 4th. The doors will open at 7:30 p.m. The show will run from 8:30 to 10:30. There is already on my social media a poster about it, a place for you to go get tickets and everything like that. There are 9 performers on the bill, myself included. Spoiler alert, I will actually be doing 2 separate sets in the evening. I was asked to do 2 separate sets, and there is a possibility that I am doing a little spoiler alert and dropping a scoop here because Stacey Stardust was interviewed for an upcoming episode of Ice Cream Social. So you might be hearing it here before you hear her there. I don't know when that episode is going to drop, but it's funny because she reached out to me being like, hey, any chance you could do 2 sets? And I'm like, fuck yeah, why not? If you're looking for somebody else, Donnelly's an easy yes for doing a second set. And she's like, already asked him. He's already doing a second set.
Nice.
I was on his podcast today. So little insider information. Cool. That one hasn't aired yet as far as I know.
When did you have that conversation with her?
Yesterday. Ooh. So it might be the episode that drops Monday 2 days ago.
Right. It might have just
from the
dropped.
Time of us dropping this.
No, it didn't. Because the episode that I listened to ICS as it comes out.
Yeah.
It didn't drop this past Monday. So it might be so you're saying that as of this recording
2 days from our
2 days from.
Yeah. But if not, guess who's going to be on ICS tomorrow? Stacey Stardust.
You should have asked Stacey if she wanted to be a guest on our podcast.
Let us both do that on February 4th. We'll all be in the same room with her.
Let's do it.
And so I want to read through this lineup for anybody who cares, and for the rest of you who might not.
Sit
No
back and listen,
particular.
enjoy.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to read this left to right, top to bottom, just so that there's no favoritism on my part. The top one here is a sideshow bizarre magic performer, Danucci of the 7 Feats of Danger.
Ooh.
I can tell you right now, because I know Danucci, you're going to see a crazy good act where he swallows razor blades and then brings them back up. It's an awesome act. I've seen it very, very close up.
Kind of stuff makes my balls tingle.
Yeah.
But not like in a good way.
A performer, a drag monster named Clit. Let me not.
A drag monster named Clit.
Clit
that
eats
is definitely
wood. Clit eats wood.
Clit eats wood.
Yes. Judgmentalist. You're gonna have.
I love that the poster has it has judge above your head.
Yes.
And mentalist below it.
That's
and
correct.
A lot of other ones have the name of the performer and their style of magic beneath it. While it's like, oh, I mean, his name is Judgmentalist, but it would be redundant to be like Judgmentalist, Mentalist.
Well, if I were to want this to be precise, and quite frankly, I don't care about those particularities. Right. I'm not that kind of person. It would say Judgmentalist at the top. It would say Hypnotist at the bottom. But I'm not doing hypnosis at this show, so I just let this go.
Yeah.
The other reason is coming up shortly why I just let it go. So the next performer on this list are belly dancers. It looks like a trio called Death by Shimmy. The next one, at the top, it just says Matt. At the bottom, it says The Mind Noodler. So that's his full stage name. So it's kind of set up the same way mine is.
Same way, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Franklin Saint, who I'm unfamiliar with, who's a magician. Burlesque Contortion from Lyra Angles. Angles, 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 yep.
Angles, yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense that name. She's a contortionist, so her name being Angles makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense, yep. You've got the ringleader, Stacey Stardust, the ringleader of Stacey Stardust Secret Circus. I'm pretty sure she's performing. I know that she does a lot of magic. I don't know what her set will include. And then we've got an escape artist, like I'm probably saying this wrong, Ligeia Way. So it should be great. It should be a really fun variety for anybody that comes out. I've already reached out to a bunch of people that I know that are Vegas locals, many of whom have confirmed they will be there, including Sarah Boyle and Bat Steve, who also attended our very first meetup back episode 9-ish.
Shout out to Sarah Boyle and Bat Scoop.
Way back when we didn't know whether or not this thing would even last a year. Here we are.
Right. Here we are.
No signs of slowing
Where are
down.
you staying?
I am actually staying at the Orleans.
Interesting. I am actually staying in New York, New York.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we will have to
conference that I'm attending and speaking at is at the Orleans. So I learned years ago, stay on property.
Stay on property.
It's totally worth it.
Yeah. Mom got comp rooms in New York. So New York.
I love New York. Like
Same.
It's one of my favorite spots. And
Same.
You know, a lot of people are like, couldn't you gamble? Couldn't you stay someplace nicer? I'm like, I don't care. I'm happy here.
The answer to that specific question is yes. But that's not the question you're asking.
But the real question, the real answer to that question for me is why?
Why?
New York has everything that I need, and it's got that damn deli with those amazingly mouthwatering brisket sandwiches. So I don't need fluff and
you don't need Mandalay Bay fluff when you.
I don't need any of that shit. I don't need Bellagio. I don't, Cosmo. Okay, fine, but it's not like I'm going to Super Frico every day.
Right. I might want to check out. I might see if we check out Mad Apple.
Oh yeah, with Nick DeFat. That's formally been announced now.
That has formally been announced by several different people.
Well, he's been doing the show, so that too.
Well, he's been in it, so yeah. But I don't know if we scooped that. I don't know when we said it versus when it was announced versus when they
we
said it on
definitely put
PSS.
it out there before it was formally announced. And if you were Patreon, then you saw
You got it even
we
before. Yeah.
hinted at and gave some not so. We didn't quite go all Paul Mattingly on it, but
No. We
in the
gave
Patreon, I was
very
just like, it's
very
fucking
some
Nick the Pot.
cryptic spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That when I saw that post on our Patreon, it cracked me up.
So,
And that,
fun
make sure I got
fact,
this correct. That's Stacey Stardust's Secret Circus, right?
correct, and that is
And
already on my Instagram. And it'll if I can figure out the best way to post a still photo on the TikTok, it'll be there. I'm sure I've posted it on my other social medias as
and I'm
well.
pretty sure you post it, and I usually just share it as well. So, and Big
So
Sexy will be in
it's
the
out there.
house. I'm definitely gonna see it. Most likely, me and the wife will see it. I was gonna say me, my wife, and my mom, but maybe not my mom. It's only because it's a late night show,
Yeah,
and my
yeah.
mom really isn't a late night person. My wife isn't really a late night person either. But we'll see if she wants to go or no. But yeah, so either way, Big Sexy Digital Nomad will be in the house that weekend in Vegas. So we'll definitely do another meetup. We'll record I'm pretty sure we'll record an episode live there. Either from the Orleans or from
I'll
New
be bringing
York.
all my gear for sure. So
Yeah.
we'll
Same.
definitely be able to make that happen. I will say here I have a wish list item, and this may not be achievable through the reach that this podcast has, and it would take a matter of the proper circumstances. But if anybody listening to this or otherwise has seen Matt and I perform at any of the shows that we've done on the East Coast, and there have been probably like 10 of them or 12 of them by now, I want you desperately to do everything that you can to attend this show on the 4th, because you will have seen us share the stage almost 2,500 miles apart at two separate shows, which I
Nice.
think is pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was random circumstance because I did not know that Matt was applying or submitting to perform at this show. I did so independently, and then I announced once it was formal and official that I would be doing this show. And Matt chimed in on whatever, Facebook or something like that, being like, I'm on the same bill. I was like, sweet. It looks like we're getting the band back together.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw the post. Oh, hey, what a pleasant surprise, Mac. I get to see. And I realized I have never seen you perform live.
You haven't? Interesting. Well,
Yeah,
I guess you're about
I've seen
ready.
you perform video.
Yeah.
But I've never seen you perform live. But you're not doing hypnosis this time around, right?
Correct. I'm not doing formal hypnosis. I will do so there's a piece that I do at the beginning of my hypnosis shows that kind of explain what hypnosis is and isn't, and then it also goes into kind of show some of the power of the subconscious mind. I start every show that I do that way because if I'm doing the hypnosis show, that is the intro to that show. If I'm doing a mentalism show, all of the effects that you're going to see me perform afterwards rely upon influence and suggestion basically as my superpower. So I use that as the setup for what is to follow, regardless of what kind of show I'm doing. So that is that. And all of that encompassing is really the topic of what I'm talking about at the Performing Hypnosis Summit, because I'm talking about my journey through really finding a place on stage where I'm comfortable, and then how that is circled back to be able to maintain a single character on stage, regardless what type of performance that I'm doing. So fun stuff.
Nice. Now I have a question for you.
Of course.
What was the longest flight you have ever taken?
It would have probably been so far. It would have been one of the legs to Hawaii, or back. I believe probably I've been to Hawaii twice.
Oh, nice.
And I
Love
want to
Hawaii.
say it's from Dallas to either Honolulu or the Big Island, whichever one of those is further.
And that's usually like a 9-hour flight, right? 10-hour flight?
Something like that, yeah. Because I want to say that on my way, when I went to Honolulu, I'm pretty sure that both of those were through those transfers were through Dallas. And also when I went to the Big Island, but on the way out, there was some sort of medical emergency. We landed in Phoenix and had to, deal with all that for a brief period of time. So that wasn't a full leg. We just went from Phoenix out. But on the way back, we just had a normal get into Dallas. So one of those legs is probably the longest.
So
for
8 hours and 15 minutes is the estimated flight time from Dallas to Hawaii.
Yeah, that's probably sounds about right.
Right.
That will change, I believe, in May.
When you fly out to Egypt.
Which is also not a direct flight, but I'm going to look this up right now and tell you that my flight from Philly to Heathrow to London is loading slowly. That might not be. That might be less. I want to say it's 7 hours, and then there's a time change.
Yeah, you got to be careful of the time change, right? So flight time is
no, that's only 7 hours and 10 minutes. Philly to Heathrow. And it's only 5 hours from London to Cairo.
Well, the flights I just put in the flight time. So from Hawaii to Dallas, from Honolulu, is 7 hours 10 minutes. And the reason I'm asking is because I have recently been on the longest flight I've ever been on. I think. Let me check. We left from Chicago to Rome. Flight time. Okay, so actually the second longest flight I've ever been on. But here's a weird thing. So we just flew, and probably because it's the most recent flight and it was coming back to the US. So we flew from Paris, right, from Malaga to Paris, and then Paris to Los Angeles. That flight, the whole day was like 17 hours worth of travel. Right? We flew 3 hours plus from Malaga to Paris, had a 3-hour layover in Paris, and then a 10.5-hour flight. There's actually about almost an 11-hour flight from Paris to LAX. The flight was uneventful, which is kind of what you want a flight to be.
Yeah.
But it was also uncomfortable, which you really don't want a flight to be.
Not for that long, no.
Not for that long. What made it uncomfortable is, we're in a large plane, and of course we have Fox, and Fox is in the cabin, in front in the seat underneath, right in front of Nilla. Right, so she's on the window, I'm in the middle, and then another lady is to my right on the aisle. That's where we're seated in the plane. Now I have to go to the bathroom somewhat often. I made it a point not to drink a lot, to not have to go to the bathroom as much. But it's also an overnight flight. Right. So overnight flights, people tend to lean their chairs back. So the chair went from, let's say arm's length distance away to right up in front of my face. Yeah. And we're trying to watch movies. And I'll get into the movies that I watch in just a second. Then when you have to go to the bathroom, you have to get up. You're having to deal with the chair that is
You
leaned
gotta
back
play
at
the
an
limbo,
angle.
man. That's the
Yeah,
limbo.
you got to lean back, kind of shimmy your way out of the bench, walk through, dodging legs and heads that are out of unconscious people out in the aisleway. Go get to the bathroom, wait for somebody, whoever's there. The bathroom's small. Then you got to go. Um, Luckily, no doors blew off of the airline, so we were safe the entire trip. Hence, uneventful, which is lovely. And then shimmy your way back. Let the person know you're back. Get back into your seat. Sit down. Readjust. Uh, Plus, I had a big bag underneath the front of my seat, so there wasn't a whole lot of leg room. Um, it wasn't the most comfortable. And then, the chairs aren't as cushiony and as wonderful. And I didn't have an extra seat cushion. So eventually my butt hurts, and I'm dealing with that. You're trying to move and just the pain of your butt trying to resettle. And it was a long fucking flight.
Yeah, this is where I draw the line and spend money that I shouldn't be spending. And I've in my mind now justified for long flights, for international flights, for anything like that. And 5 hours is like the cutoff. All right. So
Right.
I'm not, like let's say that like if I were going to Jamaica or whatever from the East Coast, that is a 3 hour flight. While it's international, I ain't fucking around with first class on that bad boy. That
Right.
is
No
the
need to.
same as whatever. I would say that my flights to Vegas and back are probably 80 to 90% Southwest. And then occasionally, either in a treat yourself moment or more so when I have points and can do it for free, I will fly first class out to Vegas. But like 90% of the time, that I'm comfortable with that. I only book direct flights. I don't fuck around with that if, otherwise. Now, if I were going out for something and there was like a time crunch, like let's say I got booked for a gig or something and had to go do the gig, leave the next day, that all might change. But,
Right.
in normal, just, hey, I'm going out to do X, Y, and Z, and there's an extended period of time, direct flights, I usually won't spring for first class, but the Hawaii stuff, those were all first class flights because fuck that noise. Everything. Not only am I doing first class flying to Egypt, but the plane, the big flight, well, 7 hour flight is one of those bigger planes that in the front have those like nice little individual pods where they
Those
basically
are those
become
are. I want to be in one.
beds.
I've had the opportunity to be in those one time before. Those are amazing.
Those are amazing. And there is substantially nicer shit out there. But this is, I don't need to go any higher than this. But like some of those like Emirates flights that have like all sorts of crazy, ridiculous bullshit in where you like your first class suite has like a
Right.
couch, bed, and a chair and all this other shit. It's like, what? No. Like, no, that's too much.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like for 7+ hours and then another 5 following it. The next one is just the standard like business class, 2 big seats, which is better
Right.
than being
Yeah.
crunched up
2
and
seats is
dealing with other
great.
shit.
3 seats is painful.
You get what is generally a decent meal involved in that. Um, I have no idea because me drinking on planes is generally day of mood based and
Right.
sometimes company based. Like who I'm with will determine if I'm doing that.
Whether or
Like,
not you need alcohol
no, I don't
companion.
mean it that way. I'm just
Oh,
talking about
okay.
peer pressure. Like, I want to say the year that I missed most of Scoop Fest when the draft was in Vegas.
Right.
I brought beer in a backpack out to Vegas with me, and the timing was right to the point where we just tied one on that plane.
Right.
And let me tell you, there are no written rules when it comes to how to treat people or schmoozing people, but I want to say that we probably drank 5 or 6 beers each on that flight, or whatever we were drinking. This was like 2 years ago, so I don't even remember. We might have had cocktails, who knows? And I want to say that we each paid for two because of the
Nice.
way that you treat people. And obviously, we tipped and everything like that, which I don't think is overly expected on airlines, but that's not how we roll. We're like in Vegas, everything you expect to tip everybody. We operate that way, both he and I,
Right.
universally.
I can say that I've never consumed alcohol on a flight. Um, One, I'm not a big drinker to begin with. And when I was drinking heavily, I was broke. So, like, the concept of paying for alcohol on a flight just never really moved me, and I never really done a long enough flight to warrant it. And again, I lived in California, so I didn't really do a whole lot of flying to Vegas. I imagine if I was flying to Vegas, I might would have tied one on because it kind of sets the party mood that you're going on. But I always
Right, right.
drive out to Vegas, and so I'd say, well, I'll drive, I get there, and then I'll put on my bells, get into my cups. But the food was wonderfully mediocre. We had salmon and some kind of soggy green beans and overly mashed sweet potato mash. Um,
So you didn't have any Mexican street corn Cheetos?
no
Yeah, you're
Mexican
missing
street
out.
corn Cheetos a snack
Missing
bag, but
out.
we did. But we also had chicken and potatoes that we had cooked and brought with us on the flight. We had, I had a good old fashioned nut bag, which we make our own trail mix. Mine is just peanuts. I don't like nuts at all, really. And a lot of fruit. We brought fruit over um, to really enjoy it. Like, again, the flight wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. We watched Mission Impossible, the new one, the new Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning. We watched Past Lives, which was really good. And then we watched The Creator, and that's out of order. And then we watched The Creator.
Now, when you
That's
say we, explain the setup to me. Are you guys watching the same movie at the same time, sharing earbuds on one device, or what do you, or
nope.
was it like
We
running on the plane? It was
we
running on
no
the
no
plane,
no.
so
So
no.
neither one of those, but close to the first one. So we each had our own individual headphones, and we would time hitting the movie at the same time. So we go 1, 2, 3, play, and then we would each play. We would be playing the movie at the same time on our own individual screens.
That's precious. Save that shit for the Rainbow Dreamcast podcast.
Right. Right. That's the kind of love that we have to watch stuff together. And then when she finally decided she wanted to go to sleep, she put on um, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse because she'd already seen it.
Because you've already seen it. Yeah.
She'd already seen it, and I
Yeah.
started watching, and we only had like an hour and 40 minutes left of flight time, and I didn't want to start a longer movie. I didn't want to start a movie that I knew wouldn't end until if it wouldn't end if we landed. We'd land before it ended. Like, I can't do that. That shit would irritate the hell out of me. I'd have to see the end of the movie, and it would bug me until I saw the end of the movie. So
So
I
that's why
just
you can
started
only do
watching.
it with shit you've already seen.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Even then, I still get if I get locked in the story, I get invested. And by the time I started scrolling through, other random old movies that they had in their system, uh, nothing screamed out to me. Oh, I should put that. Like, if they had The Princess Bride or something classic like that, or like, I might have thrown that on.
Yeah, but then
But
you're
they
gonna
did.
watch it. And you know damn well you're gonna watch it. No matter how many times you've seen it before, you're gonna watch it.
Exactly. If they
See,
had that, I definitely put that on.
my criteria for that phase, like the hope is to fall asleep. I have to have watched it, and I need to find this sweet spot where I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't love it,
Right.
so that I could just kind of wash it
Zone out. Right.
and let it wash me. Exactly.
Yeah, my issue is I still get drawn in, even if it's a mediocre show. Like, I love movies too much. I get invested in what I'm watching, and that the investment will keep me awake. So instead, I watch TV show. I put on some TV episodes and just play the TV episodes, and then uh, threw on some music the last few minutes or whatever. And they had a game system on there, well, so I played some games as I faded in and out. But I was pretty much awake for the entire second leg of the flight. I think I dozed off maybe the last 30 minutes or so, but most of that entire 11-hour leg, I was awake for. Now, the first leg from Malaga to France, I slept through that motherfucker. I was unconscious. And then I slept. Our friend Rozzy, shout out to Rozzy. Thank you so much, Rozzy. You're a dear friend of ours. Picked us up at the airport and drove us from LAX back to Riverside. So big shout out to her. We owe her a big fat dinner and a full tank of gas. But during that drove, I passed out. Like Nilla took the front seat. I was in the back. Okay, this is perfect. I was out. Yeah, now we're back here in Riverside, California. Here we are.
Gotta love it.
Yeah,
That
well,
is, and I don't know if we've talked about this entirely, but like, I try usually, and again, situational. So, if one of my boys is there on the flight and we're trying to throw down some cocktails, different rules are off.
right.
But like, most of my travel solo flight wise. So I generally, if I've got like a 5-banger going out to Vegas, I will try on the takeoff to go to sleep. And if I can do that successfully, that usually lasts me anywhere between half to 2/3 of the way through the flight.
Right.
And then I may or may not, or if I'm unsuccessful or whatever, try to find one of those tweener movies that'll help me just kind of zip out. I usually have a couple things loaded up on a device that are, I used to have more like magic lectures and stuff, but now I don't want to say I don't care about that stuff. It's just not anything that I'm going to put into use on a regular basis. So I'll have something like that as a backup. And then, I'll screw around with like maybe some of the live TV as we're getting closer to landing or whatnot. A lot of times my return flights from Vegas are on Monday evenings, and I try to time it so that if it's during the NFL season, especially like if I'm flying on Southwest, which again is like 90% of my travel,
Right.
I can tune in and put that Monday night football game on. I may or may not care about it. I may or may not pay full attention to it, but it's definitely kind of one of those almost white noise background things that I will definitely, I'll either enjoy watching it and not be mad that I didn't sleep, or I will totally zone out and fall asleep during
and knock out. Right. Now, do you do a lot of football watching on a regular? I mean, I know it's like one of your side hustles, but
not as much as I used to.
Are you a big
I would say
you're a Ravens fan?
that is my home team. I have season tickets to the Ravens. Becoming an NFL agent has kind of made me less a fan of any team. And if we ignore the fact that it's kind of ruined the game for me, I'm more, the more and more players that we get into the league, the more and more I become a fan of those individual players and their success.
Right.
Than any given team. But
it's kind of late in the podcast to do it now, but I definitely want to dive into. We talked about your lawyering and your hypnotizing and your mentalism, but we hadn't barely scratched the surface of your NFL agent team.
Sounds like a good thing to throw into a bank episode.
I think we should do that. I think one of the bank episodes would definitely have to be about your life as a NFL agent.
Yeah,
I think it'd be very interesting.
And I mean, I could certainly talk about. I mean, I could take that in any direction. I can make anybody who's considering getting involved in that profession run away screaming very quickly. Um, it is not what you think it is from the outside. That is for sure. But
Right.
yeah, let's tease that for a bank episode, because I know that we're going to try to use the current setup to put a few in the bank here soon, as
Yeah,
we
we'll lock
should,
some in as
because we
many as we
currently
can.
have
While
none in the bank. And I while I will go through some specific players that my organization represents, I don't think any of that. I mean, some of that might change by the time that the episode airs, depending on how long we sit on it. If it makes it to the end of April, a draft class will have cycled.
right.
So there are a minimum of 2 players that we represent in this draft class, maybe many as 3, that are almost locks to get drafted.
Nice.
So there will be at least 2 or 3 more players that are highly likely to make rosters. Getting drafted, you're not guaranteed to make a roster, but teams generally don't like to spoil draft capital. And then we generally get a few undrafted guys that hang around and make teams or make practice squads. But again, we'll make sure that we
We'll
isolate
dive
that
into that.
all. We'll isolate that and do one episode dedicated to it. That way, anybody who has zero interest in the sports ball gets super warned and can just realize a few minutes in that this is the one that I don't give a shit about, and mark it as listened to, so that whatever podcast stats that we have are there, but you don't necessarily have to be tortured through it.
That now, speaking of the first class accommodation and stuff like that, that 12-hour flight, sitting in the middle seat for that long of a period of time, has kind of spurred another focus in order to me to generate significantly more income, as many different revenue streams as possible, so that in the future, not only do we have like global entry, that we also have like, we're not worried about, we can just get first class accommodations because it's not a thing. I
You're
don't
not going
want
to do
to
it on every flight, but you can do it on those big boys.
on the big boys, right? And I would love to be in a place where I'm not like I'm pulling up flights and not gawking at you know costs, and I want to be able to go. You know what? I need to fly out to wherever and be like, damn, boom! I'm just gonna book a ticket. It is what it is. I want to get to that level.
I will tell you that I probably financially should be at that level, but psychologically, I am not.
I'm pretty sure psychologically I will never be at the level where I look at a flight and go, it doesn't matter what it is, just book it. I will constantly go, you know what? This flight on this airline at this time is this much. This flight on the same airline at a different time is $200 less. I'm taking that one because I can deal with time.
Yeah.
I can deal with time. My time doesn't matter, and I will still bargain hunt, but I won't. I'm of course adding airlines to the list of no, I'm not flying that fucker. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Right, like I'll pay a little bit extra to be on a better airline, and I start generating miles and points and stuff like that.
Well, that's the key. I mean, you got to kind of focus that stuff and end up working off of, for whatever stuff that you could do, pick one that you're going to kind of stick with.
Yeah.
And eventually that one will become 2, especially with the international stuff, because I used to be almost exclusively Southwest. And then we took a trip with the family and ended up, it was an international trip right after the lockdown. And we ended up flying American. So, of course, I got signed up for their loyalty points and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So now I have personal and business credit cards for both American and Southwest.
Right.
So
Yeah,
both of those, I'm accumulating points regardless of whether I'm taking flights or not.
Right. So that, yeah, as we start developing that, of course, when I decide what airline, then I will also, once I have business that warrants a business credit card, I will definitely be looking at one that generates flight points for an international airline. That's the goal.
And as of, this is actually kind of light from me normally, but as of the time of us recording this, I have 192,000 Southwest points.
Nice. I think I probably have 17.
Which is good for, I don't know, maybe depends on where I'm going. But like if I were going to Orlando, I can get a round trip there for like 20,000. So that's like 10 East Coast round trip flights.
Nice. It's not bad at all. Yeah, Southwest is my go-to in the States.
And the
matter of fact, I was just looking at Southwest flights in case I need to get out of Riverside to clear my head for a little bit. You know, I was looking at, okay, what's a flight to Vegas if I didn't want to drive so I don't have a car? Okay, I can get there for, they have days are like $45 round trip plus whatever, right? I'm like, okay, how much is a flight to, what's a flight to the Bay Area? What's a flight to, if I want to go all the way out to Florida, what's a flight, what's that run? So I've been running those kind of numbers. And again, as in the workshops or whatever I plan, if I'm able to book any of those between now and we leave, then I will definitely take some of that money and do some some national travel.
I am glad that when you ran through,
domestic is the word I'm looking for.
That you said Florida and not Elkton. Not that you're not welcome here. You are always welcome here, but
here's the thing. Yeah, that's why.
It is 29 degrees right now.
Yeah,
and snowing.
So you'll notice I didn't say New York, Chicago. I didn't say Denver. I didn't say I didn't list any place where it's still winter because it's winter. So all my places were like Vegas.
Apparently they're getting snow in Florida right now. Like the fruit basket's upset.
That's insane.
For the fruit cart, whatever it is.
Right. So yeah, very much still team anti-winter. Saw how the cold snaps and the Arctic blasts. Suddenly, Mountain Dew is sponsoring weather. Is going through the northeast rather. It looks terrible and horrible. It's killing people. Like fuck, stay warm, everybody. Jesus. But that's much why we're like looking at Spain and we didn't go back to Bucharest because fuck that. We're not doing cold.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, come see us both on February 4th, please.
Yeah. So and with that, listeners, we do appreciate you all, of course. Thank you again for tuning in to another fine episode of Big Sexy Digital Nomad. Of course, as always, speaking of support, feel free to go to our Patreon site at bullwiththebutthole.com. Side note about that, I did get, before we left, I did get to take some friends to Torremolinos and show them the bull with the butthole that I met in Benalmádena. We stopped off in Torremolinos, and so we took another spot by there. That was a lot of fun to revisit that. So yeah, go to bullwiththebutthole.com. Join our Patreon. We have tiers on there. What day of January is this? This 18th. Is the 18th. So okay, so yeah, the last of every month, the last episode of every month, we will read off the Patreon support members, that support list, and so that will be
until it gets too big to do all in one.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could, if we have a long list, we'll break them up, and then we'll as needed. But until then, we can knock everybody on one. So the next time we record an official episode is when we'll drop our Patreon, because that episode will drop the last Wednesday of the month, which is actually the last day of the month as well. Also, you can follow us on the social medias. If you see us post anything, please share and like it with your friends and family. Let everybody know about the podcast. Let's grow in 2024. All you sexy world travelers, let's grow our community. If there's anything you want us to talk about, specifically about the travels, the visa process, anything we got going on there. If you want to hear more about Judgmentalist Magic or his hypnotism, anything you want us to discuss, you want to know what any specific questions about Spain or Bucharest or air travel or what it's like to be back in the U.S., I'll be happy to answer any of that on the podcast. Shoot us a message. You can do so at bigsexynomad@gmail.com. Drop us wrong answers only. If you're on the Patreon at the certain tier, you can go ahead and send us a parody song request. So taking some of those. My goal is to write a new parody song every month. So go ahead and hit us up with a subject matter and a song you'd like me to parody, and I'll get that taken care of. My goal is, if I do a song every month, at least one song every month, that's 12 songs, I can drop an EP at the end of the year, like a year-end parody album that'll guide me to do that kind of stuff as well. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. So I'll put that together, and then you never know, maybe end up on an Amazon comedy album list and make that magic happen. But anything else you got before we head out?
No.
All right. Well, in the meantime.
Safe travels.